All right, everyone, this is Ian the Green. I am going to be switching over to share screen. So, because today we're going to be covering Scribal Research and having some discussions around that, and probably end up having discussions about differences between different kingdoms and how we do different Scribal things there, and expectations as well. Okay. Hi, this is my absolute favorite, by far, search engine for manuscripts. And I don't really have a better name for them than search engines for manuscripts. This one is just, I love it so much. You can do basic search. Basic search, you can type in any name, anything you want. You'll get however many pages, hits per page, and you can limit to manuscripts with images. If somehow you actually know the shelf mark, then you can put that in. Some of you might not know what a shelf mark is. A shelf mark is essentially like a modern day ISBN number. They are not universal though, unlike the ISBN. Each library creates its own shelf marks, and typically speaking, they have a collection name, MS on them for manuscript, and then whatever they've called it. Typically there's numbers and dots involved, but not always. And again, limit to manuscripts with images. On the other hand, if you have a shelf mark, you know what you're going to get. At least the manuscript you're going to get. You don't know if there's going to be any images. But I don't like the basic search. It's okay. I love the advanced search. Now here we have Boolean logic. Search in any of these shelf mark, author, title, docket, language, provenance, binding, caption, search for a word, search as keywords, search as a proximity search. So the keyword is always exact, more or less. And the proximity search is words that mean this. And then you can do and, but you can also search or. So if you want to limit your search to things, you use and. If you want to expand it, you use or. You can search for dates. I want, anything from from 800 to 1200. Okay, does the manuscript, MS is always manuscript, need to be dated? Yes, no, default. Not all manuscripts are known, so the date isn't always known when it was made. Figurative declaration, country of origin, any country. Now these are modern day boundaries. These are not historical boundaries, but you start in Andorra and go all the way down to Wales, and a whole lot in between. Now you will notice this is not a complete listing of what's out there, but it really, really helps. You can get Low Countries, which is usually kind of a Holland thing in that area. Byzantium, okay, Byzantium's not current, but okay. So mostly these are current borders. And Holland's down here as something separate than the Low Countries, because, well, Holland's only just part of that. So if you wanted to search for a French manuscript from 900, gee, that would be pretty easy. France, earliest date, 900 to 999. Well, we said 900s. We didn't mean 10th century. Oh, okay. Well, I could just type in 900, or I could go 850 to 950, and that's going to give me plus or minus on that. Okay. Current location. You can pick the library that you're going to look through. Austin, Baltimore, Johns Hopkins, Berkeley, which, by the way, I think are the people that are putting this on, that are in charge of this one. Cambridge, Columbia, New York, Northampton. There's even, Bloomington, Indiana, Lilly Library. I've been there a lot. I used to live 15 minutes away. It was awesome. And then again, limit your search results to manuscripts with images. You can get 15 a page, 30 a page, whatever. So we're going to click 30 and we're going to hit search. And this is what the response is. You're going to get a listing here. Hold on, I'm trying to change something. There it is. You're going to get a listing. And it's going to tell you number of images available, 3, 2, 2, 7, 4. Here's one with 20. It's New York, Columbia University, Rare Books and Manuscripts Library, Plimpton. This is the shelf mark, Plimpton MS-058. So collection name, manuscript, 058 is the number. Now you'll notice that we have 057, 56, 55, ahead of it. But, it's century 9th, country France, language is Latin. Limp Vellum by Mark Thompson of European Binding Company. So, and the thing is, you got to remember about bindings is the books will survive and bind, but often have to be rebound. So we're going to click on that one. And you can look at the different pictures as you scroll through. And if you happen to see a picture, we'll stop on that one that you want, you can view the image. But notice this, you can download it too. F dot means folio, 45 meaning they don't use page numbers because pages left and right. They don't use it's folio 45, which means on the front and the back, this is the 45th sheet in line. This is verso, meaning left side, as opposed to recto, meaning right side. And if we view image, and they've changed how they do things. So you can zoom in, you can zoom out, go back home and toggle to full page, making this do all sorts of fun things, or you can just zoom in and zoom out. I happen to have a roller mouse, so I can zoom in and zoom out without using the buttons. Quick, what script is this? Oh, you're all muted.
Dard?
I did not hear you.
Betard.
Not in the 9th century.
Oh.
This is somewhere between 850 and 950. And it's a script we all covered in class.
Carolingian?
It is Carolingian. And they are using club serifs.
The crossed P is interesting too.
Right, the crossed P is not actually a word. That is an abbreviation.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah, there's Pipsum or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Right.
It looks like Pipsum, and I forget what the cross P actually stands for. And this Q down here, that's also not a Q. That's an abbreviation. Yeah, I think it's QUI. But I don't have these memorized. I go to an online resource which has a PDF that I've downloaded that you can look it up. But yeah, that's an abbreviation. And the fun thing about abbreviations in most medieval documents up to the Renaissance, maybe including, is that abbreviations do not take the place of a word, although they can. They are used in the word. And so for an example, we look at I'm going to move it up, top line here, and it goes, I don't know what that word is, in principio, and then CCPUD, DM, what that word? There's no dungeon masters here. That M is an abbreviation. And so that's a full word if you understand what that abbreviation is supposed to be. So, and that's part of document research, is knowing when you have, like up here, we have OMA. Well, that's not OMA. That's an abbreviation. That's the same abbreviation as that DM here. That M has that mark over it. Same here, right in the middle of a word. Abbreviations were there to save time writing and save space. So, all right, who can tell me what the rubrication here is? What is this called? I'll give you a hint. It's written right there for you. Tell yes and don't answer. Eleanor, Pierre, Laura, anybody want to make a guess?
My Latin's terrible, but I'm not sure what the explero secundum and incipit secundum is, but I'm guessing that's part of it.
So this is what's called an incipit. And you know it's called an incipit because it says incipit. And essentially it says, here we start. That's what incipit roughly means. If Taliesin would like to expand, you're welcome to at this point, or correct me, but incipit just means it's kind of like, oh, we're starting a chapter, we're starting the book. And so anytime you see incipit, it's the beginning, it's the start of. In this case, incipit secundum, second start. So kind of like second chapter, I guess, but on that one, I don't really know. Now over here, we can see that there's actually a page that's on the right that's kind of up. And that's the way that's done is that you kind of get these foam pads that when they come together, they form a V and they put the book in that, and that's to relax on the binding. And so it looks like this thing is perfectly flat, and it may have been, but it was probably not. And so but you can see this. And so the verso is on the left and the recto is on the right. And if you don't know, you haven't been told, you can at least you look at the edge of the picture and go, aha, I have other pages here. That's the foredge over here on the left. So that must mean I am on the verso. Let me double check over here. Yeah, there's some recto over here. So in the middle is the gutter. That's always the gutter. And in this case, in the gutter, we're either, and it's hard to tell, you can't always tell from this. That is a cutout page. Sometimes, so if we're up here, that almost looks like it's a string in the gutter, which means you're in the middle of a choir. However, if you follow it down, nah, that's a page that's got cut out. At least that's my interpretation of what we're saying. And that's the problem with scans. Sometimes you just can't tell. So when you're doing research and you're having to write your documentation, don't assume that what you think you're seeing is accurate, because scans do a really good thing of telling us the picture, but they don't do a really good job of telling us the whole picture as if we were right there. All right. So when we take a look at this, we also have knotwork over here on the left. People like to say, oh, it's Celtic knotwork. This is the 900, 850 to 950. The Celts weren't in France anymore. And this wasn't created in Ireland. It's knotwork. Knotwork was not just done in Scotland and Ireland and the British Isles. Knotwork was done everywhere. There's some really gorgeous orange and brown knotwork that in some Spanish manuscripts that I've seen. It's just gorgeous. They really liked orange and brown, by the way, for the coloration for a while. You can kind of see the difference in capitals. We have a large capital up here right underneath incipit. By the way, can you see my mouse? I don't know if you all see my mouse.
Yes, we can.
Excellent. All right, so we have this large capital N here, and that's a really good attention drawer. But we have other capitals that are less about drawing your attention. Maybe they are, but you can kind of see that capitals do not all have to be big, like this one. Or this one. And interestingly, one of the things that we've started doing in modern culture with things like Twitter and other text-based things is that if we can't italicize something, we'll capitalize it to give it emphasis. That's not new. They've been doing that for 1,000 and more years. So here we have omnia. That didn't need to be capitalized. There is no reason for that to have been capitalized. It's not the beginning. It might be the beginning of a sentence because we do have this abbreviation here, and it could be some kind of some kind of a punctus, but I don't know if it's the punctus for the end of the sentence. I don't read Latin well enough. But then again, we have this punctus here, which is pretty certainly the end of a sentence. So no, omnia is just there because, hey, this is more important. We're making emphasis here. We have this capital H. It's different than the minuscule h. So we have a majuscule H and a minuscule h here. And interesting, the majuscule H is very much in the form of a uncial H. Remember that you can, most of the time, look at Carolingian and give a rough date by looking at the capitals, but also over here on top with the club serifs. Club serifs and uncial capitals typically put you 800 to about 950, I think is what it is. Depending on where you're at, of course. So something to keep in mind, because sometimes, you know, you'll get a manuscript and they're like, yeah, we know it was written sometime in the 1100s. We don't know, you know, and they have their experts, but they also do make mistakes. I saw a manuscript that was dated to a certain date and I went, no, it had to be earlier than that, as far as I know. And I wrote them and said, hey, look, I know I'm just an amateur, but I think your data entry person might have wrote this wrong. And I actually got a nice email back going, yep, we took a look at it. No, the expert got it wrong. The data entry person did it right. Thank you. And it really was based off of the capitals and the serifs that I was looking at. So don't think that the experts are infallible, but do assume that the experts know what they're talking about. So do we have any questions?
I'm guessing you'll put a link to this search engine somewhere.
I will grab you that link. So
This is digital.scriptorium.org.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we don't have access to the chat at the moment, but I've
right. Yeah, I was noticing that. That's what that sound of was.
Oh, there we go.
Somebody got it?
Yeah.
All right, excellent. So one of the interesting things, and I don't know how to do this, I got told and I've forgotten. So you look in this and you see all these little dots that are here. That's hair follicles. And because we can see the hair follicles on this, you can tell what animal this was. I'm not that guy. I can't tell you what animals this was. But Rhiannon Redwolf, who is here in Onstiora, is not a scribe, but she has a PhD in medieval literature of some kind. She can look at it and go, oh, it's this. Just part of her doctorate. So yeah, if somebody can get, theoretically, that's pretty easy information to find. I just don't have it. All right, so the one thing that this page looks like it's missing is lines. And this is where I go, scans don't show everything. You see this kind of gray brown area right here? See it here? They wrote between the lines, not on the line. And this line, you can see it here. So it is possible that this is a scored line, not a guarantee. It is possible that the ink that was here was not color fast and has faded. We don't know, but you can see the remnants of some of the lines. Oh yeah, something else I wanted to show. Take a look at this page. Look at the wear marks. See how it's darker over here and darker down here, but nice and light up here? Where do you think this page was handled? They turned the pages over here and from down here. Just something to note.
Do you know what kind of document this was, or like what the book was?
Yeah, we can switch over to digital scriptorium, back up to it, and it'll tell us. Script, Caroline minuscule, minor initials, occasional rubric, delay, decoration. So we got to go up here to the top. So it's calf. From a Benedictine monastery. Huh. I'm going to bet it's one of the Gospels, but it's not telling me unless I'm completely missing it.
On the
Rule.
first page, it says use of readings from Matthew prayers.
There you go. Yep. So yeah. And something else is 23 to 25 long lines ruled in dry point. Dry point means that it was scored for making the lines. Sometimes it's sharp, sometimes it's blunt. Almost always it's blunt. All right, meeting's going to end in 10 minutes, but don't worry. Oh, wait. Aha, digital.scriptorium.org. Excellent. Yeah, I'm seeing that. Could be. Yep, it's digital dash.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. I got it. Now that I can get to chat. Couldn't get to chat before. There it is. All right. So here, same document, different kind of a page. And you'll notice that it's cut and it looks like it's been put on another page. And the answer is it has in some way. Now, it might just be that that's just kind of where it's located, because you can see up here, you have a shadow as opposed to it being pasted. And down here we have writing that is definitely not what was up here. And so this page was obviously used more. Did it break? Did it get cut? You know, we don't know. And one of the things that we like to try to do is, I wonder what pigment that was. There's no way for us to know from a scan. You can say red could be any of these. You can say, you know, the yellow could be any of these dyes. But you have to take into account that their scanning equipment registered it a certain way, put it to a computer, who then interpreted how it did it, and is sending it to our computers who are interpreting it how they want to, being sent to our monitors that are sending it out as our monitor would send it out, not necessarily how it originally was. It is a long game of telephone, and the last guy is not necessarily reliable. Okay, so don't say, oh, that looks like it was like the rubric from the last one. Oh, that was probably done in Brazil, you know, in Brazil wood. I don't know. Kind of looked like it was Brazil wood, and I'm willing to say that was among the possibilities, but you don't know. You will see a lot of wear and tear the earlier on in the book this is. Something is. So
Philip just, or Pierre just asked about the multiple scripts on the page. And Philip, good catch. That in early to mid period, that was very common, that the there could be upwards of 3 scripts at the beginning of a section or on a page.
Yep. So what we have up here is Roman-esque capitals. I don't think those qualify as truly Roman capitals. You want to correct me on that?
Generally speaking, Roman capitals were the very first font that was used, or a variation of Roman capitals. They're like titles. They're that was actually quite common, that they were some
Yeah,
form of
this is the formal dun dun dun, kind of like what you see at the beginning of titles for a movie. Big, bold, written stuff to grab your attention. And that's actually really common with Carolingian. Anybody recognize this lovely letter or abbreviation technically? We use it today.
Oh, that's the ampersand?
That is the ampersand. Yep, that is an ampersand is the letters ENT stuck together. And you'll see it in the middle of a word. So yeah, that's the ampersand. So this is ergo. It almost looks like the ampersand.
Pierre asked why some of the letters were filled in.
Because they wanted to draw your attention to them.
Were they, and this may be a question that's hard to extract from this. Obviously it's old, so it's all faded. Was it like filled in with bold or red or brown versus the black ink, or?
It could be filled in with just about any color. Yellow and red were more common in my understanding. This is probably a yellow, but I don't know. It just doesn't have the same look as up here as this reddish stuff, but that reddish stuff could be something else, again, over time. So, but yellow and red were pretty common for this, but you'll see blue and purple and other things in other documents as well.
And part of the problem with old manuscripts is that they often might be making pigments from local flora, so they're lake pigments, so they're not permanent, so they will fade with time, and they're not light fast, so you see those variations.
Yep, and they'll change color over time.
Mm-hmm.
The other problem that you have is, like, if we look at this line up here, done in Roman capitals, things fall off. They get old, they age, they crack, they fall off. For all we know, this is a ground base for gilding, because that's a color that they would use they would add that color for ground gilding for a base for gold. Now, not too likely, don't get me wrong, but it's a possibility. And so because things do fall off, again, you can't assume. You can make some guesses and go, okay, there's this general possibility, but I don't know. So.
Notice in a couple of spots, it looks like there's some markings in between the lines too, where someone put some, I don't know if it's a comment or a correction, where there's some little wording between, like, underneath what looks like Pat in the bottom left. There's like.
I'm not seeing.
Go left. Scroll.
Oh, left. I said right. I went right. Oh, here.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's like Cilius or something like that. Over here we have EOGO. Yeah, that's interlinear marking. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name. Gloss typically is what that is. That's what the word is. Sometimes gloss is a correction. Sometimes gloss is just gloss. And it's somebody else, it's a note. Kind of like in academic books today, students will write notes on the pages or highlight or something. So, and that's an FILUIS, I think. The fun thing is that if you're going to download it the largest possible pixel, the densest pixelation you can get, and then open it, and then you can zoom in even further. All right, we have a minute and 40 seconds on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to close the meeting, and then we can zoom back in because there's other things we can be looking at and talking about. Okay. All right,
good.
I'll see you all back here in a minute or two. Okay.
So we have to exit and log back in.
I'm really sorry, guys. Yes.
No, just clarifying for everyone.
And go back to share screen. All right, so you can see why I really like this one. However, again, you can search anything, and that's why I like it. Now, this does not have every manuscript in the world out there. Oh, nice. Laura just shared to our chat. Some scans have color bars that will calibrate the color for you. And so see the color bar here on the right? And that can help you figure out what the colors actually are that you're supposed to be seeing. This is a standardized set of colors. All right, my next favorite one is this, DMAP, digitized medieval manuscripts.org. Now this one does get a little, you got to understand what you're looking at here. But other than that, it's pretty easy. And I just put the link in the chat. What this is, you got to understand what it is and what it isn't. Literally what this is their listing of every museum or library that has digitalized manuscripts. Here's the thing you got to remember. If you want to come over here, pardon, if you want to look for a Hungarian manuscript, looking in a Hungarian source may or may not be the best choice. Just because you're looking at a museum or a library in Hungary does not mean that the manuscript that you are looking at is Hungarian. Okay, they, just like the British Library, the American Library of Congress, or anywhere else, you get manuscripts from everywhere. Okay. Somebody trying to say something? Okay. Sexy codicology and the DMAP tells you more about it. DMAP home, sexy codicology. Codicology again is the study of books. So, am I already at the DMAP home? Yeah, okay. And you, in theory, so if I click on that, it'll tell me use Control plus scroll, browse manuscripts, if I want to do it at that one. So Control plus scroll. Now I'm zooming out. What country do we want to look in? Somebody give me a shout out.
Just out of curiosity, let's go to Japan.
Japan.
That one.
Well, that'll be easy. They've got one.
I just was surprised to see it there.
All right, so then you click on the pin drop, browse manuscripts, or explore it. It's Senshu University Library. It has a few. less than 10 digitized manuscripts. Now I can look for explore additional data, but I want to go browse manuscripts. Anybody read Japanese? Because I don't.
Very badly.
Oh, so it's, the whole website is Japanese.
So it does. It'd be up in the right-hand corner.
Hold on. Maybe I can get Google to translate it. Ha ha!
There you go.
All right. And it's open exclusively for undergraduate and faculty members, which means you might not be able to get in.
Mhm.
And sometimes you can. Yeah, we're not getting in.
Okay.
And sometimes this happens. And that's one of the limitations of this. Yes, they have it, but it doesn't necessarily always mean you can get into it. So we'll zoom back out. Anywhere else?
Turkey?
Right. Nope, nothing in Turkey on this. You got Armenia and yeah, Bulgaria, but Turkey's not on here. Now I'm pretty sure there's going to be Turkish libraries that do have digitalized, but unfortunately, no. Closest we've got is Armenia. And again, it's about what the library holds.
It doesn't look like this one has much from the Middle East.
No, and that's because it's simply not in their database, or they have refused to be a part of this. That does not mean that you cannot get Middle Eastern manuscripts. You just can't get them in the Middle East. Pretty sure if I go down here to London, you know, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and one of these is the British Library. Not that one. Not that one. You can tell I've never been there in person. Yes, the Victoria and Albert Museum has some. Zoom in. Nope, not them. Yeah, British Library digitized manuscripts, which is another fun one to do. They have a system very similar to what the other one did. I always use advanced options. You can type in your keyword, you use your slider to pick your dates, author or scribe, title, manuscript number, biography. I think their results are a bit more cumbersome, but they are good. Charter of King John of England. 2 images available. So this is a charter. It's a formal document. Anybody recognize this script?
I guess it looks like it's hard, maybe, but different.
It is a form of Batard, Bastarda, or secretary hand. I assume secretary hand is what it would be called, since it is actually from England. And actually, what year?
But it's got that W.
No, I would be wrong in saying that. This is a late version of Carolingian. Wow, I can't, yeah, I make my mistakes too. But it looks, and that's the thing, is a Carolingian really looks a lot like the Batards, and boy, was I wrong. Split serifs, if you get them. But yeah, you can see all the other things, so.
Well, but Batard is a late Gothic hand.
Yeah.
the early Gothic is based is drawn from Carolingian.
Yes.
What I find fascinating is the amount of white or negative space and the super high ascenders, which is
Yes.
a Mediterranean or Southern Europe technique more so. So
yeah, commute, not that I can read this really, but Baron. Yeah. Just a lot of fun stuff. So, and this is another form of an ampersand right here. The neat thing about charters, and it's probably missing, yeah, this space here probably had the seal, proving that it was an official charter. It's not there anymore, but you can kind of see where it probably had been. And that is unfortunately common with charters. All right.
Would that have been like a wax seal, or when
Yeah.
you say it's a seal?
Probably a wax seal. All right, but so you get the idea that if you just kind of want to junk around and see where things are at and go, I wonder what they'll have. This is a pretty good website to do that with.
word of caution, they're called rabbit holes for a reason.
Called what?
Rabbit holes.
Yes. They are called rabbit holes for a reason. All right, so this is Lake Constance. This is the Abbey of St. Gallen, I'm pretty sure. No, but they're down here. And this was a very famous area in period, still pretty famous today. And in fact, here at St. Gallen is the very first conservators meeting ever that occurred. It was actually called by the Pope because he's like, hey, we're getting holes in these manuscripts. What's going on? Over here we have Reichenau. Interestingly enough, Reichenau was even more famous than St. Gallen. And over here, and I've been there, in this area is actually where the Reichenau church was that was making all of those manuscripts. So, and I'm really surprised that there's nothing on here for them. Reichenau used to be an island entirely. And technically it still kind of is, as you can see. But a lot of this isthmus here, or maybe peninsula, depending on how you want to call it, has been added and is more man-made. So Reichenau was much more isolated than it is today by far. All right, so I love DMAP. Here is one that I don't use terribly often, but it works. Written culture from 1000 to 1500. It calls itself Manuscripts Online. You can look by keyword, place, person, reference, and of course, see more options is their version of advanced search. So, and every source is a little bit different on how they do things, but you can search for an exact phrase, such as Canterbury Tales. All right, fine, let's do that. Come down here and hit search because enter didn't work. And we have some results. Which one do we want to look at today? Manuscripts of the West Midlands it is. So Oxford Bodleian Library, very famous library. And it gives us information, but I don't see anything that's going to give us any scans. And that's okay. It depends on what you're trying to research. Scans are not the ultimate. Sometimes you're looking for information. Can you please tell me about this manuscript? I have the scans, or I don't have the scans, but I need to know what's going on with it. How big is it? What is it written on? Codex. Codex is what we think of as book. However, the word book can mean scrolls. It can mean book. It can mean the codex as we're used to it. And there are other things that book can mean. So what kind of book is it? It's a codex. So when you're dealing with technical sites that are, run by universities or conservators and things like that, it's important to note that codex is what we think of as book. And then there are the people, you're like, I want to find a picture, a miniature of something from somewhere. How did they do? Well, hey, look, it's a manuscript miniatures. It's a search for manuscripts and miniatures in the manuscripts. And they have a listing that you can go through, and it is not short. You can say, I would like to have a female, maybe clergy member from Germany in the years, I don't know, let's pick 1400 to 1500. Let's see what they've got. None. Let's take off female. Widen that search. None. Let's take off Germany. Hey, look, more. So it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it works. And now that I've clicked on it, I get all the information. We get what the manuscript shelf mark is, the dating, where it was made, who holds it. Of course, in this particular case, we're also getting that it is the folio 164 verso. And hey, eCodexes at the URL. eCodexes is another good site, by the way. And it was 164V. So we go down to folio 164V. And now you get the whole page. So not only are you getting the miniature, but now you can match it up to the script and any other decorations or illuminations that happen to have been on the page. Pretty handy. Any questions? Comments, suggestions, anything else you'd like to have covered? All right, so let's talk about what are kind of the expectations of the kingdom that you're in for when you may or may not make a charter or a scroll from scratch. I don't know what people know, but let's figure it. Let's talk about it. I know that Taliesin works with charters and is often asked to do originals. Pierre, I really don't know for your kingdom what goes on at all. And I don't know with Laura either. So.
Yeah, Amp-Guard's pretty fast and loose about things, so it's not as big a deal for us.
Okay. Do you do originals?
Yes, I do. Actually, I was just working on some this week.
Awesome. So in your kingdom, is it the norm that the crown hands out all originals?
Not always. It usually depends on how high a tier the awards are. If they're significant awards, they're often the originals. Yes.
Okay. In the Middle Kingdom, which is where I got started doing scribal work, which is totally different than where I got started doing the SCA, all awards, every single one is hand done from start to finish. There are no charters, zero. Kingdom of North Shield, which is a child of the Middle Kingdom, I was there for about 14 months. They're the exact same way.
And Ontario originally was that way, but because of the size of the kingdom, when you consider that their majesties in a 6-month reign issue anywhere from 250 to 300 awards in a 6-month reign, it just became very, very difficult. So we have a huge, what's called scribal backlog for awards that have been given over the history of Ontario, where the originals have never been done.
Right.
And in the last 20 years, that was changed, so that general awards are done by charter. But peerages and what have you are still done as original scrolls, as may other where normally a charter would be given. Occasionally, depending on the individual, someone may actually step forward and say, I would like to offer an original scroll for this person to work, generally which they're accepted. But charters have become the standard in Ontario, and that's carried through the principalities as well. So the summits in Oregon and Ontario and British Columbia, we generally use charters rather than with only the very highest of awards being done with scroll.
In Ontario, where I live now, it's pretty much the same thing. It's charter. The higher the award, the less likely it is to be a charter, and peerage scrolls are almost always originals. Interestingly, in Ontario, we have rules about the size of the scroll. And so AOAs are one size, and they're kind of they're not exactly the smallest, because there are smaller ones, but of the AOA, GOA, POA, you can imagine AOA small, GOA medium, peerage scrolls large. And that's really kind of how it is.
And in Ontario, our AOAs are done on the large size. So they're 11 by 14, printed on 11 by 17 paper. And we encourage people who design charters for AOAs to go all out. And also when AOA charters are painted, we encourage the use of gold paint. It's a charter, so we don't recommend gold, just gold paint is fine, or metallic paints and what have you. And the justification and the reasoning given behind it is the AOA may be the only award an individual may receive during their time in the SCA. And when we switched to charters, the point was made that we want the AOA to stand out.
Middle Kingdom does the same thing here in Ontario. We don't. And by the way, for those who don't know, the reason why the AOA is maybe the only scroll that somebody gets is because the average stay in the end for a person in the SCA that doesn't stay 7 years. If you stay 7 years, you'll stay for life. The average stay is 2 years. And most people will get their AOA in their first to second year. Chat. It's a really cool approach. While I was in the SC for a while, I didn't quite make it, and my chat decided to go down on me. Come here. There it is.
That's a good, I can say definitely part of that data set, because I was in SCA for probably about 2.5 years, and yeah, never quite made it to AOA level.
Yeah.
And I think I was in my third year, coming to the end of my third year when I got my AOA.
Mhm.
And at the time that I received it, Their Highnesses apologized because when they had been in the branch the year before, I was intended to receive my AOA. They didn't have enough charters with them, and I was the one that was left off. But because I was the newest member on the list, they thought it was okay to do that, which I was fine with. But
Interestingly, in the West Kingdom, you walk up, you get told, "Hello, congratulations, you've been given this award, this order. Have a nice day. Contact the Scribal College if you'd like to have a scroll. See you later. Bye." Remember, scrolls are not a requirement. Scrolls are a memorial object to what occurred. It is a record, and hopefully it's a gorgeous record. But it's not a requirement. Just depend on the kingdom you're in, how they're going to do it. I think the Middle Kingdom would probably have a collective heart attack if somebody walked into court and was given an award or elevation and there wasn't a scroll available. We would make a promissory. It's just what it is. This is a quick little note saying that you got it. It's a promissory that you'll get your real one. Sorry about that.
we have only recently in Thierry, the Principality of Thierry, given out what are called IOUs. And I was the first scribe to actually prepare one for Their Highnesses. They came to me and said, "We would like to give this award because this person happens to be in attendance at this event. And apparently they rarely come out to events.
Right.
But we don't have one. Can you run up something as an IOU?" They issued 9 of them over the course of their reign.
So sometimes that happens where the crown will say, "It wasn't on the scroll." All right, so let me back up. The crown usually knows AOA, GOA, POA awards that they're going to give out in court. Sometimes the crown goes, "Oh, hey, somebody's here we didn't expect, let's get them." Sometimes the crown goes, "Harold, look up the OP, make sure this guy doesn't have the award because I want to give him that award today." Because they see something, they think it's awesome, or they hear something, they think it's awesome, and they're just going to do it. When that happens, if you're in a charter kingdom, at least in Onstiora, you have these charters that have been painted and handed out. They've been painted and sent into the crown. And at the event, we have a scribe that will just write in the name of the person. So it's very easy in Onstiora. It looks like it's the same thing in Antir.
Yes.
And so it's very easy to just add them, as long as there's a blank charter available to do that. In kingdoms where you have original scrolls, that's a lot more difficult. You actually have to make a scroll from scratch. Now, the way that the Middle Kingdom and North Shield did it is we have something called scroll blanks. And those are scrolls that have been painted, but the word block has been left entirely blank. Now, scroll blanks are also given to scribes to do their work at home. I use scroll blanks a lot because I don't paint. I'm a calligrapher. And so I'm a calligraphy scribe. So I would use other people's original artwork, which is very similar to charters, but not the same. And then I would write in the wording and things like that. When that happens at an event, at least in North Shield in the Middle Kingdom, we called that combat scribing. And that sounds like what you did with the IOU.
Yes. I was also at a Principality event, and Their Majesties from Ontario were in attendance, and they wanted to give out an award. They weren't anticipating giving out any awards. His Majesty is a calligrapher,
Awesome.
and an artist, and he took a tiny little 4x5 card or 5x7 card and actually just wrote something out on it. And when he presented it to Rose in court, he said to her, "This really is a promissory. You will get a proper charter at a later date." And without thinking about it, Rose went right in the middle of court, kneeling in front of His Majesty and said, "Fuck that, I'm just keeping this."
Look, I have something written by His Majesty's hand itself. I don't care what else you got.
Mhm.
Yeah, I get that.
Mhm. So that was really a cool moment. So that was in June of 2017.
That is awesome. So there's a process that happens in different kingdoms. In the Middle Kingdom, I don't want to say correct, but the most kind way that this happens is the crown decides who they want to give what awards about 3 weeks before that court. They get that, they make a list, and they give it to, and this is the Middle Kingdom, and I think North Shield follows this as well. They give it to the Kingdom Herald. The Kingdom Herald quickly double checks and makes sure that the Majesties are not giving out awards or that have been given out before necessarily, and certainly not admitting somebody to an order that they've already been admitted to. Now, their Majesties tend not to make that mistake, but the Herald's job is to ensure that such things don't happen. Because nobody is perfect, their Majesties are awesome, but not perfect. Then the Herald takes that and gives it to the Kingdom Scribe. The Kingdom Scribe goes, "Thank you very much," checks stuff, checks against does their double check, and then contacts the regional signet, sends the list to the regional signet. The regional signet gets on the thing, says, "I have 10 awards, 15 awards, 20 awards, 2 awards, whatever it is. Who would like to volunteer as a, on the scribes list, who would like to volunteer to do these?" And then they don't tell you what the list is. That's not your job. You don't get to know. You just get to know what your assignment is. And you say, "I'll take 1, I'll take 2. If you take more than 2, the signet's going to have a conversation with you, unless they know better already. 2 is a lot. But typically, by the time that has filtered down to the scribe, you have 2 weeks to get it done. 2 weeks is more than enough time for 1 scroll. It is often enough time for 2 scrolls. Why are you doing 3? Sometimes the answer is, well, because there were 15 and there's still some left over. And for people like me, who I'm working on a scroll bank where somebody spent a lot of time already painting it, it takes me 2-3 hours to write a scroll. Okay, I can take 5. The most I ever took was 4. And so I can do that. That's, even though I can do them quickly, that's still hard. So 2 or 3 was my average. Just, it depends. So the question is that's 2 weeks just for calligraphy side or for the art side too? The answer is yes. It depends on the scribe. It's both. If you're a illuminator painter and then you start with blanks, a blank sheet of paper, you do the painting. If you're also a calligraphy scribe, then you do the writing. It's both. And if you're going to be both, you take 1.
In Ontier, if it's an original scroll, there is no way it would ever get accomplished within 2 weeks. 2 weeks is pushing it for a charter in which, so in Ontier, their Majesties advise their royal scribe. We have a kingdom scribe that oversees and assists the royal scribe. The royal scribe is appointed by their Majesties specifically for their reign. Depending on the size of the kingdom and Ontier, in recent years, the royal scribe has appointed deputies. So under the current Christian and Holland's reign, the royal scribe, there's a royal scribe, Eden the Mad. There is a deputy for the summits, and there's a deputy for the Principality of Thierry, which is me. So we divide.
5-minute warning.
We literally divide the calendar up based on which principality it's in. And we are provided with digital masters of all of the charters. We generally pre-print and have them pre-painted. That's not always possible. In past principality reigns, I've had their highnesses call me on Friday or Saturday for the following week and saying, we're doing this award, but there's new words, here they are. And I literally had to have everything done, the new charter printed, and then sent it out for painting and given to me in court so that
Yep.
it's available. I've done it in 8 days.
So in Sierra, our charters are not reign specific.
Hmm.
So we have charters that are 30 years old, I am told. I don't know how accurate that is, but you get the idea. They're not reign specific. This is the charter for a GOA heavy fighting award, and it is for any, and their majesties will sign it. We do have a royal scribe. However, the royal scribe is a theory, a set person, but if that person can't make it, it's pretty much like, hey, what scribe that can keep their mouth shut will be available at the event to sign and write in things for their majesties?
We call those combat scribes in here.
Yeah, it's the same idea.
Mhm.
And that's the other thing. For people that, Eleanor's back. For people that are not familiar with this, and it's one of those things I'm saying more because this is being recorded than the people I see here. You are entrusted with what we call a state secret. It's a kingdom secret. If you are being given an award, you don't discuss it with anyone. Now, I understand different kingdoms are slightly different, but at base, if I am given an award to do or to paint or hand out in court, however it's going to be, I don't discuss that with my laurel. I don't discuss that with a herald. I don't discuss that with anybody but the people I have permission to discuss it with per scroll. Now, in my case, I had blanket permission to discuss with my wife because sometimes my wife would paint for me, and she was proven to be trustworthy. If you are found to have broken that trust, there's different kingdoms have different ways of handling it, but in general, you don't do kingdom scrolls anymore for a while. They like to say ever, but forgiveness can be earned. Mistakes happen and they get it. Don't make the mistake. Ask first. And also, unless otherwise, never sign for the crown or the coronet without permission. And it doesn't matter if they're dead. You don't do it until you get permission. Who do you get permission from? Well, you ask your kingdom signet and they know the answer to that.
So wait, when you're saying signing for the king, monarch, whoever it is this like the
Baron,
actual
baroness, prince, princess, yeah.
right? But actually signing for whoever that person doesn't normally sign for themselves, or
Generally, they sign for themselves. Occasionally, you'll come across a prince or princess or king or queen who's not comfortable signing them because they have such poor penmanship.
Or you're doing a backlog.
Yes.
You have 1 minute.
The most common time that it's done is for more Norse personas because it's signed in runes. And so it's not likely that anyone would know the difference if the signature was done by somebody else.
Yeah. And again, backlogs present a problem because sometimes they can't be reached, but you still need to get permission from the crown. And with that, we're going to close because, well, we're out of time.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for showing up, everybody. I will see you on the other side.
all right, really interesting. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.